So we're going to be looking at squares and square roots. Let's find the definitions for perfect square, square root, and the radical sign. A perfect square is a number like 144 because it is the square of an integer, 12 times 12. The opposite of squaring a number is finding the square root. So a perfect square is the square of an integer, and that's important. It's not of a decimal. And a square root is the opposite of squaring a number. This is a radical sign. If you make a list of all the perfect squares and their factors, it will be a very handy reference to use. You may want to pause the video and make a list of your own to have. So on this list we have a whole bunch of perfect squares, like 9 is a perfect square, and one of the factors used to create it would be its square root. So the square root of 9 is 3. So here we can find the square root of 64. And something important that you might want to write down beside the radical sign definition is that it means that you have to give the positive square root of it, not the negative. So the square root of 64 is 8, because 64 is created with the factors 8 times 8. And it's a perfect square. 64 is. The square root of 64 is 8. Okay, now check your progress and find the square root of 25. You should find that it is a positive 5, and it can't be the negative because we have the square root symbol, or the radical sign. It means it has to be the positive square root of it. Okay, this is similar, it just means that we're finding the negative square root of 121. So our negative symbol is still going to be out front. It's like a negative 1. And 121 is found by the factors of 11 squared, or 11 times 11. So the negative symbol just drops straight down, and the square root of 121 is 11. So our final answer is negative 11. Now you find the negative square root of 144. Since 144 is found with the factors 12 times 12, or 12 squared, the answer is a 12, but we have a negative out front, like a negative 1 being multiplied by it, so it's negative 12. And here we have a new symbol. It's called a positive negative, right here, right in front. It designates that you're giving both square roots of 256. So we're going to have an answer of positive negative 16, because 16 times 16 equals 256. So 16 is the square root. And we're using our positive negative symbol to show that it's both a positive 16 and a negative 16. Okay, on your handout, find the positive negative square root of 16. Okay, did you find it to be a positive and a negative 4, which we would also be able to write as positive negative 4. Okay, this problem is kind of tricky and kind of interesting. You're looking at the square root of negative 9, but it's not possible. You may be thinking it should be negative 3, but wait, negative 3 times negative 3, or negative 3 squared, would actually equal a positive 9. It's impossible to get a negative 9. So we would say that it's not possible. There's no square root. Okay, on your handout, pause the video and find the square root of negative 64. Okay, yeah, there is no real square root. It's impossible to get a negative 64. You may be thinking it would be negative 8, but wait, negative 8 times negative 8 would actually equal a positive 64. There's no way to take a number times itself and get the negative 64. So we would say there's no square root or it's not possible. We're going to estimate square roots now to the nearest integer, and in order to do that we're going to show both the low and the high square root that surrounds the 22. Okay, on the low end of 22 we have 16, which is 4 squared. On the high end we have 25, which is 5 squared. Okay, which number is it, 16 or 25, that's closest to the 22? It'd be 25. So our square root that is closest when we are estimating here, it would be about 5. Again, when estimating, we're going to show both the low and the high square roots. Pause the video and find the square root of 71 to the nearest integer. So you're estimating, find both the low and the high. Make sure to write them down. So on the low end we have 8 times 8, which is 64. On the high end we have 9 times 9, 81. Okay, figure out which one is closest. 64 is, so our answer is about 8. Pause the video and estimate the negative square root of 38. Okay, remember when writing down the low and the high that you would have 36 for your low, which is 6 times 6, and 49 for the high, which is 7 times 7. So the closest one would be our 36. So our answer is about, and remember we have a negative symbol out front, like -1 times it, so just -6.